The multiverse doesn't care about your plans. One moment, Peter Parker was swinging through Manhattan, his Manhattan, where the Avengers existed and heroes actually meant something. The next, reality folded inside out, colors inverting, time stretching like taffy, and something fundamental in the universe's code went catastrophically wrong. The sensation was worse than anything he'd experienced, worse than the snap, worse than dimension hopping with Strange, worse than dying. This felt like being erased and rewritten simultaneously. He crashed through the dimensional barrier doing 60 miles per hour. New York City materialized around him, but wrong. The skyline was different. Vought Tower dominated the horizon where Stark Tower should be, its massive LED screens broadcasting faces Peter didn't recognize. He slammed into a rooftop water tower, metal crumpling under impact, webbing reflexively shooting out to arrest his fall. Pain lanced through his ribs. His spider sense had been screaming the entire journey and still hadn't stopped. Peter clung to the building's edge, breathing hard, trying to process. Different universe. Had to be. The question was, how different? His phone was dead, completely fried, not even powering on. No Karen, no contact with home, no way to call for help. Peter's chest tightened. May, MJ, Ned. Were they looking for him? Could Strange fix this? A supersonic boom rattled windows across the city. Peter's head snapped up. 7 figures descended from the sky in perfect formation, like something out of a propaganda film. The lead figure wore red, white, and blue, cape billowing dramatically, landing with theatrical precision in the street below. American flag motif, blonde hair, confident smile that made Peter instinctively relax. "Ladies and gentlemen, the 7 are here," the hero's voice boomed, amplified somehow, projecting across blocks. "Nobody panic. We've got this situation completely under control." Peter's spider sense wasn't reacting. These were heroes. Thank God. This universe had heroes. He watched from above as the team moved with practiced efficiency. A speedster in blue, faster than Peter had ever seen anyone move, positioned civilians behind barriers that hadn't been there seconds ago. A woman with blonde hair and a starlight costume generated light constructs to contain a fire that looked suspiciously controlled. A man in black armor stood silently, arms crossed, more decoration than participant. It was the timing that bothered him. News helicopters were already overhead. Professional camera crews lined the street, not scrambling into position, but already set up. Multiple angles, perfect lighting. The civilians being rescued moved to marks like actors. The fire department arrived, but they weren't fighting the blaze. They were standing back, letting the heroes work. Peter's photographer instincts kicked in. This wasn't a rescue. This was a production. Webhead on the rooftop. The speedster materialized beside Peter so fast he barely registered movement. Up close, the man looked strung out, pupils dilated, jaw clenching rhythmically. "You're new. Pro tip, wait for the cameras to set up before playing hero. Vought doesn't pay for off-camera saves." What?" Peter stammered. "The cameras, man. You see them rolling?" A-Train, the name on his suit, gestured at the news crews. "That's your cue. Also, who's your agent? That suit's homemade, right? Decent aesthetic, but you need professional branding. I know a guy." Before Peter could respond, A-Train vanished. The lead hero, the one in American flag colors, looked directly at Peter. Even from this distance, Peter felt the weight of that gaze. His spider sense tickled. Not danger, exactly. More like wrongness. The hero smiled, waved, then returned to addressing the cameras with a speech about protecting America's families that sounded focus group to death. Peter's stomach turned. Something was deeply, fundamentally wrong here. He web-slung away, mind-racing, needed information, needed to understand what kind of universe he'd landed in. The heroes here felt off, too polished, too media-savvy, too much like celebrities instead of, well, heroes. On a massive LED billboard, an advertisement played, "Vought International presents The Seven, heroes like you've never seen before. Now starring in Season 3 of The Seven Dawn of Justice, streaming exclusively on Vought TV+. Starring in. Peter's blood went cold. Heroes didn't star in shows. Heroes didn't wait for cameras. Heroes didn't have agents. Unless. He found a 24-hour electronics store, slipped in through the back, his lock-picking skills courtesy of Stark Tech training, and powered up a display laptop. The search results for The Seven made him physically sick. Corporate superheroes, Vought International's privately owned team, licensing deals, action figures, controversy sections mentioning alleged civilian casualties that were settled out of court, fan forums debating whether Homelander, the lead hero, was too intense in recent appearances. There was a video titled Homelander's Top 10 Saves with 50 million views. Peter clicked it, watched the blonde hero laser through a bank vault to stop robbers, his smile never wavering even as his heat vision cut dangerously close to hostages. Watched him lift a bus full of children with one hand while posing for selfies with the other. Watched him address press conferences like a politician, every word calculated. The comments were worshipful, obsessive, disturbing. Peter clicked another video, then another. A pattern emerged. Incredible powers, theatrical rescues, constant media presence, and underneath it all, in leaked videos, in shaky cell phone footage quickly taken down, glimpses of something darker. Homelander screaming at staff. A train standing over someone's body. The Deep's multiple assault allegations. "Oh no," Peter whispered. "Oh no, no, no." His spider sense suddenly exploded. Peter rolled left as the wall behind him exploded inward. The black-armored hero from the Seven stood in the wreckage, silent, head tilted like a predator studying prey. "Vought would like to have a conversation." Black Noir's voice came through some kind of modulator, emotionless. "Please come willingly." Peter's web shooters were already up. "Yeah, that's not happening." He fired, twin web lines shooting toward the hero's mask. Black Noir moved, trained, precise, deadly, dodging with martial artist precision Peter recognized from fighting alongside Black Widow. The hero drew throwing knives from nowhere, hurling them faster than humanly possible. Spider sense screaming, Peter dodged, twisted, cartwheeled across the electronics store as knives embedded in walls, screens, merchandise. This wasn't arrest. This was elimination. Peter webbed a display shelf, yanked it into Black Noir's path, used the distraction to crash through the front window into New York night. He swung hard, pushing his webs to maximum tension, launching himself across blocks in seconds. Black Noir wasn't following, because he didn't need to. A figure in red, white, and blue floated at rooftop level ahead, arms crossed, that media-perfect smile now edged with something predatory. "Spider-Man," Homelander said, voice carrying effortlessly across the distance. "Love the name. Very marketable. We should talk about your future. You've got potential, kid. Question is, are you going to be smart about it, or are we going to have a problem?" Peter's spider sense was a constant shriek now. "I don't work for corporations," Peter said, every instinct telling him to run. "Heroes don't cash paychecks." Homelander's smile widened, and for just a moment Peter saw something in his eyes that made his blood freeze. Not anger, but genuine amusement. "Oh, you're adorable. We're going to have so much fun breaking you in." Then he was gone, sonic boom rattling Peter's bones. Peter clung to the building, shaking. Wrong universe. Very, very wrong universe. These weren't heroes. They were something else entirely. Something wearing the costume of heroism while being fundamentally, horrifyingly corrupted. And they'd noticed him. Peter looked at the Vault Tower dominating the skyline, its screens now displaying his own masked face with the caption, "Mystery Hero, who is the Spider?" He was in so much trouble. Somewhere in this universe there had to be actual heroes, people who fought because it was right, not because cameras were rolling. Peter would find them. He had to, because if this world's heroes were the monsters, someone needed to be the real thing, even if that someone was very, very far from home. If you want to see more characters enter different universes, hit that subscribe button and drop the name of a character and the universe you'd want to see them in down in the comments below. May the Force be with you. The Vault International recruitment team found Peter within 12 hours. He'd spent the night in an abandoned subway station, web hammock strung between support beams, trying to formulate a plan. No way home, no allies, no resources except his web shooters and rapidly depleting web fluid cartridges. His spider sense had finally quieted to a low hum. The universe's way of telling him everything here was dangerous, so constant alertness was pointless. Morning brought Ashley Barrett. She materialized in the subway with a full security team, their boots echoing on concrete as Peter jolted awake, spider sense flaring. The woman wore an expensive suit and desperate smile, her red hair styled aggressively, eyes carrying the particular exhaustion Peter recognized from overworked Stark Industries employees. "Please don't web anybody," Ashley said quickly, hands raised. "I'm just here to talk. Vault International sent me with an offer." Peter remained in crouch position, ready to bolt. "Not interested in whatever you're selling. $50 million annually, penthouse apartment in Vault Tower, full medical, dental, vision, personal trainer, nutritionist, media coach, and 24/7 security detail, plus merchandising royalties. Conservatively, another $20 million per year once your action figures hit shelves." Ashley pulled out a tablet, swiping through contracts. "We've already done preliminary polling. Demographics love you, the youth market especially. Friendly neighborhood hero tested through the roof. You polled people about me. I just got here yesterday. Vought operates efficiently." Ashley's smile never wavered, but her eye twitched. "The Seven needs fresh blood. Translucent's recent departure created an opening. You'd be perfect. Spider-Man, we might workshop the name, maybe the Spider, cleaner branding, but the core concept is gold." Peter dropped from his hammock, landing silently. "I saw what the Seven does. That rescue yesterday was staged. The cameras were already positioned." "Scheduled saves," Ashley corrected, as if this was perfectly normal. "We coordinate with local emergency services to ensure maximum media coverage. Why waste good heroism on situations nobody witnesses? This way, we protect people and inspire millions watching at home." "That's not how heroism works." "That's exactly how heroism works in the real world, sweetie." Ashley's facade cracked slightly, revealing something harder beneath. "You think the Seven can afford to respond to every mugging and car accident? We prioritize high-visibility saves that generate positive PR, which maintains public support, which keeps government funding flowing, which allows us to continue protecting people. It's economics." Peter's head spun. This woman genuinely believed her own rationalization. "What about the people you don't save because the cameras aren't rolling?" "Local police handle that. We're not customer service. We're heroes." Ashley thrust the tablet toward him. "Look, you're clearly new to this reality. Let me educate you. Compound V creates superheroes. Vought owns Compound V. Therefore, Vought owns superheroes. You're either with us, or you're an unsanctioned vigilante operating illegally. Those tend to have short life expectancies. I don't have Compound V in my system, Peter said. My powers are different. Ashley's eyes widened with something like hunger. Even better. Unique origin story, mysterious powers, no Compound V paper trail. PR Gold. Homelander specifically requested we recruit you. He doesn't make requests lightly. Peter's spider sense pulsed at the name. What's the alternative? Peter asked. If I say no, Ashley's smile turned brittle. Vought protects its interests, aggressively. Unsanctioned soups get labeled domestic threats. Your face, identity, personal history. Everything gets exposed. Then the Seven hunt you down for public safety. It's messy, expensive, and Homelander gets cranky when forced to do actual work. She leaned closer, voice dropping. Take the deal, kid. The money's real. The perks are incredible, and you get to save lives without worrying about rent. Under corporate oversight. Under corporate support. Ashley's desperation was showing now, sweat beading despite the cool underground air. Please just sign the fucking contract. I have 3 other crises today, and you're my easiest assignment. Peter studied her. This woman wasn't evil. She was trapped, grinding through a system that devoured everyone it touched. He almost pitied her. I want to tour Vault Tower first, Peter said. See what I'd be getting into. Ashley's relief was palpable. Perfect. Cars waiting upstairs. Vault Tower was everything Peter hated about Stark Industries' worst impulses, amplified 1,000 times. The lobby featured a museum dedicated to the Seven's greatest saves, complete with interactive exhibits where children could experience heroism. Video screens played highlight reels on loop. Homelander lifting planes, Queen Maeve stopping bank robberies, A-Train racing past explosions. Every angle calculated for maximum inspiration, every moment crafted to sell merchandise. Ashley narrated like a tour guide on autopilot. The Seven's residential floors, training facilities, medical wing, legal department. We have 43 lawyers on staff, marketing division, research and development, and executive suites. You'd have full access to everything except R&D, which requires Level 7 clearance. What happens in R&D? Peter asked. Compound V research primarily, manufacturing, distribution, enhancement serums. Highly classified. Ashley led him past security checkpoints where guards scanned badges but waved the 7 members through without checking. Here's the exciting part. Your merchandising department. An entire floor dedicated to Spider-Man products that didn't exist yet. Action figures in dynamic poses, web shooter toys, costume variants for different markets. International is huge for us, Ashley explained. We'll need to workshop whether your web shooters are technology or organic. Focus groups prefer organic, tests as more authentic superpowers. Can you do organic? They're mechanical, Peter said flatly, examining an action figure labeled the Spider Wallcrawler Edition, $29.99. They'd given him abs he definitely didn't have. We'll workshop it. Maybe add biological webbing in the movie adaptation. Movie? Trilogy's minimum. Sony's already negotiating streaming rights. Wait, wrong Sony. Our Sony. Vought Sony. Ashley checked her phone, face paling. Shit, he's here. Who's... The elevator doors opened on Homelander. Up close, he was worse. The costume was too perfect, colors too bright, smile too practiced. But his eyes... Peter's spider sense crawled across his skin like insects. Those eyes held something broken and dangerous, barely restrained behind the hero facade. Spider-Man, Homelander's voice boomed with artificial enthusiasm. "Been wanting to meet you properly. Sorry about last night's miscommunication. Black Noir can be overzealous with security." He extended a hand. "Welcome to the Seven." Peter shook it. Refusal felt suicidal. Homelander's grip was steel, barely restrained power that could crush bones without effort. The handshake lasted 3 seconds too long, Homelander's smile never wavering while his eyes dissected Peter with unsettling intensity. "Thank you," Peter managed, still considering my options. "Options?" Homelander's laugh echoed artificially. "Kid, you've got one option. Be smart. Join the Seven, become a legend, make more money than God. Or..." His expression didn't change, but something cold entered his voice. "Waste your potential fighting a system that always wins. I'd hate to see you make that mistake." Ashley stood frozen, not breathing. "The tower's impressive," Peter said carefully, "but I'm used to working independently." "Independence is lonely." Homelander's hand landed on Peter's shoulder, grip tightening just short of painful. "The Seven is family. We protect each other, support each other, make each other better. You know what it's like being different, right? Special. Nobody understanding what you can do." Peter's throat tightened. That was exactly what he felt. But something about Homelander's words felt like manipulation, wearing understanding's mask. "I'd like to meet the rest of the team," Peter deflected. Homelander's smile sharpened. "Absolutely. Ashley, assemble the Seven in the conference room. Spider-Man gets the full experience." The conference room occupied the tower's top floor, windows overlooking New York like a throne room surveying kingdoms. The Seven gathered with varying degrees of interest. Queen Maeve looked exhausted and drunk, even at 11 a.m. A-Train vibrated with chemical energy, unable to sit still. The Deep practiced poses in the window's reflection, obsessed with his own image. Starlight, the woman from the rescue, seemed genuinely kind, offering Peter a warm smile. Black Noir stood silently in the corner, a shadow pretending to be human. "Fresh meat," Maeve muttered, taking a long pull from her coffee mug that definitely contained something stronger. "Everyone, this is Spider-Man," Homelander announced like a game show host. "He's considering joining our family. Let's show him what we're about." What followed was the most disturbing hour of Peter's life. They discussed saves like marketing campaigns. A-Train mentioned juicing response times for better media coverage. The Deep pitched an aquarium sponsorship deal. Maeve offered cynical commentary that nobody acknowledged, and through it all, Homelander commanded the room with charismatic authority, every word a performance, every gesture calculated. "See, Spider-Man," Homelander said, "being a hero isn't about randomly fighting crime. It's about strategic impact. We identify high-profile threats, neutralize them publicly, and inspire millions. One big save that goes viral does more good than 1,000 small interventions nobody sees." "What about the people nobody sees?" Peter asked. The room went quiet. Maeve smirked. A-Train's vibration intensified. Starlight looked uncomfortable. Homelander's smile never faltered. "That's what local law enforcement handles. We're the major leagues, kid. You don't see LeBron James playing pickup basketball at the Y, do you? LeBron James doesn't let people die because they're not worth his time." The temperature in the room dropped. Homelander stood slowly, walking to the windows, hands clasped behind his back. "You're young, idealistic. I respect that. I was too once. But you'll learn. This world doesn't reward Boy Scouts. It rewards winners, the strong, the special." He turned, eyes glowing faintly red, just enough for Peter to see. "You're special, Spider-Man. I can tell. Question is, do you want to waste that being nobody's friendly neighborhood anything? Or do you want to matter?" Peter's spider sense shrieked. "I need time to think," Peter said. "Take all the time you need," Homelander replied. "Just remember, Vought takes care of its heroes. But people who refuse our generosity, well," he smiled, "they tend to have unfortunate accidents." After the meeting, Starlight caught Peter in the hallway. "Don't sign anything," she whispered urgently. "Get out while you still can. This place, these people, they'll destroy you." "Then why do you stay?" Starlight's eyes filled with tears. "Because leaving means losing everything. My reputation, my career, my family's safety. Vought owns me. Don't let them own you too." She walked away quickly, leaving Peter alone in the sterile hallway, surrounded by corporate heroism's gleaming facade. He pulled out the contract Ashley had given him. $50 million, security, resources, everything he'd ever needed. All it cost was his soul. Peter found a bathroom, locked himself in a stall, and finally let himself process the horror of this universe. Heroes as corporate products, lives valued by media coverage, power without responsibility, everything Uncle Ben warned against, weaponized and commodified. He needed to find the real heroes in this world, if they existed. His phone, still dead, couldn't help. No Stark tech, no Friday, no access to... Wait. Peter webbed his way back to the electronics store from last night, avoiding cameras, used a working laptop to search anti-vote and superhero accountability and fighting corporate heroes. Most results were conspiracy theories, but one name kept appearing in darker corners of the internet: Billy Butcher. No photos, no public presence, just whispered references to the man who kills Soups. Peter found an anonymous message board where someone claimed to have contacted Butcher's team. The thread was deleted, but Peter's Stark-taught hacking skills recovered cached versions, a meeting location, a password phrase, a warning: "They'll kill you if you're Vought." Peter memorized the details, then wiped his search history. If this world had people fighting against Vought, against the Seven's corruption, they were his only hope of understanding what he'd stumbled into. And maybe, just maybe, they were the actual heroes here, even if they weren't wearing costumes. The address led to a shithole bar in Brooklyn that smelled like beer, cigarettes, and poor life decisions. Peter had changed into civilian clothes, thrift store jeans and hoodie, ditching his costume in a hidden web cache on a rooftop. Walking into potential hostile territory wearing bright red and blue seemed suicidal. His spider sense hummed with ambient danger, but nothing specific. Just the general wrongness of this universe pressing against his awareness. The bar's interior was exactly what he expected: dim lighting, stained wood, suspicious patrons who looked like they'd killed people and would again. Peter approached the bartender, a massive bald man with a scar bisecting his face, and delivered the password phrase he'd found online. "I'm looking for someone who hunts sharks." The bartender's expression didn't change. "Sharks don't exist, kid. Get lost." "Vought sharks," Peter pressed. "The kind that wear capes and kill people." Something flickered in the bartender's eyes. He jerked his head toward the back. "Through the kitchen. Knock 3 times. If you're Vought, you're dead." Peter found the door, knocked 3 times, and waited. It opened to reveal a wiry man with wild black hair, manic eyes, and the aura of someone who'd seen too much and enjoyed none of it. He held a crowbar casually, like it was a natural extension of his arm. "Who the fuck are you?" the man demanded in a thick Cockney accent. "Peter Parker. I don't care about your real name, you fucking muppet. What do you want?" Peter took a breath. "I want to help fight Vought. I've seen what the Seven really are. They're not heroes. They're cunts," the man interrupted. "The word you're looking for is cunts. Superpowered, narcissistic, murderous cunts." He studied Peter with unsettling intensity. "You're that new Supe, the spider one. Thoug's been looking for you all day. Why aren't you in Homelander's pocket getting your cock sucked by corporate America?" "Because I'm not a sellout," Peter said firmly, "and I don't work for people who use heroism as a marketing campaign." The man's expression shifted slightly, still hostile but now curious. "Frenchie, get your ass out here. Need your opinion on something." A Frenchman emerged from deeper in the building, followed by a large black man in a casual suit and a young guy Peter's age wearing a nervous expression. The Frenchman carried what looked like scientific equipment. The black man radiated controlled authority. The young guy just looked uncomfortable. "This is the Spider Soupy," the Cockney man announced. "Says he wants to fight Vought. I'm trying to decide if he's genuine or the world's worst spy." "I'm not a spy," Peter insisted. "Look, I just got to this universe yesterday. Dimensional rift. Long story. I thought the Seven were real heroes until I actually met them. Homelander is terrifying, Vought is evil, and everything about this place is wrong. I need allies who aren't trying to turn heroism into a reality show." "Dimensional rift?" the young guy said. "Like multiverse stuff?" That's insane, but also kind of makes sense. You do seem really confused about basic things." The Cockney man, clearly the leader, stepped closer to Peter, crowbar still ready. "Name's Butcher. That's Mother's Milk, Frenchie, and Huey. We killed Soups, all Soups. Every last superpowered wanker needs to die because they're all ticking time bombs waiting to murder civilians." He tilted his head. "You're a Soup. Give me one reason I shouldn't cave your skull in right now." Peter's spider sense flared, muscles tensing for combat. But he forced himself to stay calm. "Because I'm not like them. I don't have Compound V. My powers are genetic mutation from a radioactive spider bite in my universe. I use them to protect people, actually protect them, not stage saves for cameras. And I've never killed anyone. Ever. That's my rule." "Your rule?" Butcher laughed bitterly. "Mate, in this world, that rule gets you killed. You think Homelander plays by rules? You think any of those Vought cunts have lines they won't cross?" He leaned in close enough for Peter to smell whiskey and rage. "They'll murder your family, rape your girlfriend, laser vision your dog, and smile for cameras the whole time. Your rule is a fucking suicide pact." "Then I'll die with it," Peter said quietly. "Better that than become what they are." Silence. The team exchanged glances. "Mon Dieu," Frenchie muttered. "He actually believes it." Mother's Milk studied Peter carefully. "You really just got here? This isn't some deep cover operation?" "Yesterday, still trying to figure out how to get home. But while I'm stuck here, I can't just ignore what Vought's doing. They're hurting people and calling it heroism. That's..." Peter's voice cracked. "That's the opposite of everything I believe in." Huey stepped forward sympathetically. "I get it, man. I really do. Vought killed my girlfriend. A train ran through her so fast she just exploded. And he didn't even stop. Didn't even notice." His eyes hardened. "These people are monsters wearing hero costumes. If you actually want to fight them, you're either brave or suicidal." "Probably both," Peter admitted. Butcher circled Peter like a predator evaluating prey. "Frenchie, can you verify his story? Check if he's got Compound V in his system." "Oui, but I will need blood sample." Frenchie produced a needle with disturbing eagerness. Peter rolled up his sleeve. The needle pierced his skin, tougher than normal human flesh, requiring extra pressure. Frenchie drew blood while muttering in French, then disappeared into a makeshift laboratory in the back room. "While we wait," Mother's Milk said, "why don't you tell us exactly what happened when you met Vought?" Peter recounted everything. The staged rescue, Black Noir's attack. Homelander's threatening recruitment, Ashley's desperate sales pitch, the horrifying Seven meeting where they discussed saves like quarterly earnings. The team listened with grim expressions that said they'd heard worse. "Sounds about right," Butcher said when Peter finished. Vought operates like the mob with better PR. They identify potential assets, make generous offers, then threaten your family if you refuse. "You said you've got an Aunt May in this universe?" Peter's blood went cold. "You stay away from her. Not me you need to worry about, mate. Vaught's probably already found her. They've got databases that'd make the NSA jealous. Every soup's loved ones get cataloged as leverage." Butcher's expression was cruel pragmatism. "If they haven't grabbed her yet, it's because they're still trying to recruit you nicely. But that window's closing fast." "I need to protect her," Peter said urgently. "Get her somewhere safe before..." "Before what? Before Vought disappears her? Before Homelander decides she's a loose end?" Butcher shook his head. "Kid, this is why you don't fight soups with half measures. You want to protect your auntie? You kill every Vought asset that knows she exists, permanently. There has to be another way." "There isn't," Butcher said flatly. "This world doesn't run on hope and friendship. It runs on power and fear. Vought has both. We're fighting a war where one side has gods and the other has explosives and rage. Guess which one usually wins?" Frenchie returned, holding test results with confused expression. "Mais c'est impossible. His blood contains no compound V0, but cellular structure is enhanced, increased density, accelerated healing, unusual enzymes, mutation genetique, just like he said." The room's hostility shifted slightly. "So he's not a Vought product," Mother's Milk confirmed. That's a first. Every soup we've encountered has compound V markers. You're genuinely different." "Which makes him valuable," Butcher said thoughtfully. "Vought will want to study him, replicate him, weaponize him. They'll never stop hunting you, mate. You've got two choices. Join them, or help us burn their whole operation to the ground." "I'm not burning anything to the ground," Peter said firmly. "But I'll help expose them, legally, publicly, make people see what the Seven really are." Butcher laughed, sharp, bitter, humorless. "Expose them? Kid, people already know. There's leaked footage, witness testimony, documented casualties. Nobody cares. You know why? Because Vought makes people feel safe. Because watching Homelander save a bus full of kids makes them forget he's murdered dozens of acceptable losses. This country sold its soul for security theater and celebrity worship. Then we make them care," Peter insisted. "Gather evidence, build a case, force accountability." "We tried accountability," Huey interrupted, voice rising. "I testified before Congress, showed them proof that Vought gives babies compound Phi, turning children into ticking time bombs. You know what happened? Vaught's lawyers buried it. Stock price barely dipped. Nothing changed except now I'm on their kill list." Peter felt his resolve wavering. This universe was worse than he'd imagined, not just corrupt, but systemically, fundamentally broken. Uncle Ben's philosophy assumed justice was possible, that good could triumph through persistence and principle. What if this world was beyond saving? "No," Peter said aloud, more to himself than them. "I don't accept that. There has to be a way to fight them without becoming worse than they are." "Cute," Butcher said. "You'll learn. This world beats the optimism out of everyone eventually." He tossed Peter a burner phone. "You're not ready to kill, fine. But you've been inside Vought Tower. You've met the Seven. You've got access we don't. So here's the deal. You feed us intelligence, we plan operations, and when shit goes sideways, which it will, your spider sense might keep us alive long enough to do some damage." I'm not helping you murder people." "Not asking you to," Mother's Milk interjected, voice more reasonable than Butcher's. "But Vought needs to be stopped. If you've got a better plan than explosives and assassination, we're listening. Otherwise, you work with us or you work alone against an enemy that owns governments." Peter looked at the four of them. Damaged, angry, desperate people fighting impossible odds with whatever tools they could scavenge. They weren't heroes. They were survivors of a system designed to crush anyone who resisted. But they were fighting. That counted for something. "Fine," Peter said. "I'll help gather intelligence, but I'm not crossing certain lines. I don't kill, I don't torture, and if you go after innocent people, I'll stop you." Butcher grinned nastily. "Innocent people don't work for Vought, mate, but sure, keep your principles. Let's see how long they last." Frenchie clapped Peter's shoulder. "Welcome to the boys, mon ami. Try not to die too quickly." Butcher hates training replacements. "One more thing," Mother's Milk said seriously. "You need to understand what we're up against. Homelander isn't just powerful, he's psychotic. Narcissistic personality disorder, Messiah complex, mommy issues weaponized by Vought's conditioning. He's killed people for looking at him wrong. You think you can web him up and hand him to police? I've fought powerful beings before," Peter said. "Thanos, Ultron, Dr. Octopus. None of them could laser vision you from 3 miles away," Butcher interrupted. "None of them could hear your heartbeat through walls or track you by smell across cities. Homelander is Superman if Superman was a malignant narcissist raised by corporate sociopaths. You can't beat him. You can only survive him if you're lucky." Peter's spider sense pulsed in agreement. Homelander was the most dangerous thing in this universe, not because of his power, but because of what he'd been twisted into. "Then we find a way to contain him," Peter said, "or stop him without killing. There's always another way." "You really believe that?" Huey asked, sounding almost hopeful. "I have to," Peter replied, "because the moment I stop believing it, I become just another villain with good intentions." Butcher studied him for a long moment, expression unreadable. "All right, Spider Boy, let's see what your principles are worth in the real world. First mission, Vought's hosting a charity gala tomorrow night. All 7 attending, plus corporate executives and politicians. We need eyes inside, someone who can move unseen, gather evidence, and escape if shit goes wrong. You want me to infiltrate? You're the only one of us they haven't tried to kill yet," Mother's Milk pointed out. "Plus, that spider climbing thing means you can access areas security won't expect." Peter nodded slowly. This he could do. Reconnaissance, intelligence gathering, staying hidden. What am I looking for? Anything that proves Vought knowingly distributes Compound V to criminals to create supervillains for the 7 to fight, Butcher said. "We've got whispers they're manufacturing their own threats to justify their existence. If we can prove it, even Vought's lawyers can't bury that scandal." "Manufacturing threats?" Peter's stomach turned. "Creating villains just so they can play hero stopping them. Welcome to corporate synergy," Butcher said darkly. "Why wait for crime when you can schedule it?" This universe was a nightmare, but Peter had faced nightmares before. And whether in his dimension or this twisted reflection, one truth remained constant. With great power came great responsibility, even when responsibility meant standing alone against gods who'd forgotten what heroism meant. "I'm in," Peter said, "but we do this my way. No civilian casualties, no collateral damage. We're better than them or we're nothing." Butcher's smile was sharp enough to cut. "Sure, mate, we'll be saints. Right up until Homelander rips someone's spine out for fun. Then we'll see what your better than them is worth." Peter met his gaze without flinching. "More than you think. time would tell if that was naivete or truth. Either way, Spider-Man was going to war. The Vault International Annual Charity Gala occupied an entire Manhattan ballroom, dripping with wealth that could have fed small countries. Peter watched from shadows outside as limousines disgorged celebrities, politicians, and corporate executives. The seven arrived last, naturally, descending from helicopters because apparently even charity events required theatrical entrances. He'd spent the afternoon with Frenchie, getting equipped with surveillance tech disguised as web shooters cartridges. Very clever design, Frenchie had praised, examining Peter's wrist devices. Mechanical, compressed fluid delivery, adjustable tensile strength. I add tiny cameras, audio recorders, GPS trackers, all Vault frequency encrypted so they don't detect foreign signals. You are Spider-Man, who is also spy. Spider Spy? Non. That is terrible name. Now Peter clung to the ballroom's exterior, 20 stories up, wearing his full costume under a waiter's uniform he'd borrowed from a catering truck. The plan was simple: infiltrate as staff, plant surveillance devices, access restricted areas while everyone focused on the Seven's performance, and extract before anyone noticed Spider-Man was involved. Simple plans never survived contact with reality. Security was heavier than expected. Armed guards, metal detectors, and several Vault employees Peter recognized from the tower, probably enhanced with Compound V themselves. But they were watching doors and checkpoints, not ceilings. Peter slipped through in service entrance window, crawled along the ceiling above hallways, and descended into the kitchen where controlled chaos reigned. You. New guy, a stressed manager thrust a serving tray into Peter's hands. Hors d'oeuvres to the VIP section. Don't make eye contact with the Seven. Don't ask for autographs. And for God's sake, don't spill anything on Homelander. Last server who did that disappeared. Peter's spider sense tingled. Disappeared? Fired, the manager clarified quickly. Too quickly. Obviously just fired. Now move. Peter moved. The ballroom was excessive elegance. Crystal chandeliers, ice sculptures, champagne fountains, and a live orchestra playing while New York's elite pretended to care about disadvantaged youth, the gala's supposed beneficiary. The Seven held court in a roped-off VIP section, surrounded by sycophants and admirers. Homelander stood at the center, naturally, laughing at some politician's joke with performative enthusiasm. Queen Maeve looked bored and drunk. A train vibrated near the open bar. The Deep posed for Instagram photos with models. Starlight seemed genuinely engaged with charity organizers, actually listening to their presentation. Black Noir stood silently in the corner, a shadow among shadows. Peter circulated with his tray, keeping his head down, planting surveillance devices on furniture, beneath tables, inside decorative plants. His spider sense created a constant awareness map. Exit routes, potential threats, structural weak points. Basic web shooter cartridges stayed loaded for quick escape, while surveillance cartridges documented everything. Champagne? Peter offered, approaching the VIP section's periphery. Finally, Maeve grabbed 3 glasses simultaneously. Only way to survive these corporate circle jerks. She downed one immediately, studying Peter with bloodshot eyes. You're new. Vault hire you? Peter's spider sense screamed warnings. She was drunk but not stupid, and she'd seen him yesterday at the tower. Catering company, ma'am, Peter said, keeping his voice different from his normal cadence. Big event. Ma'am, Maeve laughed bitterly. I'm 32 and already being ma'amed. This fucking job. She leaned closer, whiskey breath hot against Peter's ear. Word of advice, run. Get out of Vault's orbit while you still can. This place devours everyone. Leaves nothing but hollow shells wearing hero costumes. Before Peter could respond, Homelander's voice cut across the room. "Ladies and gentlemen." Every head turned. Homelander stood on a small stage, microphone in hand, smile blazing. "Thank you for joining us tonight to support tomorrow's heroes, because that's what the Seven does. We don't just save people today, we invest in the heroes of tomorrow." Applause. Enthusiastic, synchronized, slightly desperate. Peter noticed several Vought employees strategically positioned, starting each ovation. "Tonight, we're announcing a new initiative," Homelander continued. "Vought youth programs will identify at-risk children with leadership potential and provide them opportunities to become extraordinary. Because heroism isn't born, it's made." Peter's blood ran cold. He knew what "made" meant in this context. Compound V. They were announcing a program to create more superheroes, more controllable assets, more weapons disguised as charity. His surveillance devices captured everything. Homelander's speech, the crowd's reaction, the promotional materials being distributed, evidence. This was evidence of Vought's systematic enhancement of minors. And speaking of new heroes, Homelander's eyes swept the room, landing directly on Peter. "We're always scouting fresh talent. You never know where the next great hero might be hiding." Peter's spider sense exploded. Homelander was looking at him, specifically him, through the waiter disguise, through the crowd with those terrifying eyes that saw everything. Did he know? "Spider-Man, for example," Homelander continued, and Peter's heart stopped. "Our mysterious web-slinger. If you're watching tonight, and I suspect you are, know that the Seven's invitation still stands. We could do great things together. Or," his smile never wavered, "we could do this the hard way. Your choice." The message was clear: submit or be destroyed. Peter needed to leave. Now. But as he turned toward the kitchen, Black Noir materialized between him and the exit. The silent hero tilted his head, studying Peter with unsettling focus. Peter's spider sense shrieked danger. Black Noir's hand moved towards something beneath his jacket. An explosion rocked the building's east wall. Chaos erupted instantly. Screams, panic. The Seven launching into practiced response mode. Through the smoke and debris, figures emerged wearing crude costumes and wielding obviously Compound V-enhanced powers. "This is a robbery," the lead figure shouted, electricity crackling around his fists. "Everyone down! We're here for the wealthy scum who—" Homelander lasered through his head before he finished the sentence. The corpse hit the marble floor with a wet thud. Blood pooled. Guests screamed louder. "Threat neutralized," Homelander announced cheerfully, addressing the cameras that had appeared from nowhere, news crews always ready for Seven content. Everyone remained calm. These criminals picked the wrong event to crash. The remaining villains engaged the Seven in what Peter's instincts immediately recognized as choreographed combat. A-Train's opponent ran at predictable angles. Maeve's attacker telegraphed every punch. Even their powers seemed inefficient, like they were fighting to create good footage, not to win. This was staged, another Vought production. But the blood was real. Homelander had executed someone on live television, and nobody was stopping him. Peter's hands shook. This universe's depravity had no bottom. Black Noir moved toward the villains, and Peter saw his chance. In the confusion, he web-slung to the ceiling, crawled to the service corridors, and accessed areas marked "Authorized Personnel Only." His spider sense guided him towards something important. A pull, an instinct, whatever quantum connection powered his abilities, screaming that answers waited deeper in the building. He found them in a restricted server room, physical files, because even Vought didn't trust everything to digital. Peter's enhanced speed let him photograph hundreds of documents in minutes. Compound V distribution records, lists of enhanced assets deployed as villains, financial connections between Vought and criminal organizations, authorization signatures from senior executives. Evidence. Damning, comprehensive evidence. "You're very good," Ashley's voice came from the doorway. She didn't sound surprised. "I knew you weren't just a waiter when I saw you in the kitchen. Decent disguise, but your body language is all wrong for service industry." Peter turned slowly, preparing web shots. "You're going to let me walk out of here?" "Actually, no." Ashley's expression was exhausted resignation. "I'm going to call security. You're going to be detained, and Homelander will probably kill you in some horrific public way that Vought spins as necessary force against a terrorist infiltrator." She paused. And hear me out. You delete those photos, leave quietly, and maybe reconsider our employment offer before you end up as a cautionary tale." "You know what they're doing," Peter said. "Creating villains, enhancing children, covering up murders." "How do you live with yourself?" Ashley laughed, sharp, broken on the edge of hysteria. "I don't, sweetie. I pop Xanax like candy, drink myself to sleep, and wake up terrified every morning that today's the day Homelander decides I'm not useful anymore. But rent in Manhattan is expensive, student loans don't pay themselves, and Vaught's the only place that pays enough to afford both therapists and wine. So yeah, I'm complicit. We're all complicit. That's how systems like this work. They make everyone too invested to burn it down." Her honesty was more disturbing than her threats. "I'm sorry," Peter said genuinely, "but I can't be complicit too." He webbed Ashley to the wall, carefully, not too tight, easy to escape, and ran. His spider sense mapped the route, through service corridors, up 3 floors via ventilation shaft, out a bathroom window to the exterior wall. Peter crawled down 20 stories with security alarms screaming behind him, hit the street, and disappeared into New York crowds before Vaught's response teams could coordinate. The surveillance data was encrypted on Frenchie's devices. The photographed documents were backed up on 3 separate secure servers. Evidence of Vaught's systematic criminal conspiracy, ready to be released. Peter rendezvoused with the boys in their safe house, hands still shaking from adrenaline. "Got it," he announced, connecting the devices to Frenchie's computer. "Everything. Compound V distribution networks, manufactured villains, financial records, executive authorization. This proves Vought creates the threats, the 7 fight." The team gathered around the monitors, expressions shifting from disbelief to grim satisfaction. "Bon sang," Frenchie whispered. This is everything. Years of investigation confirmed in one night." "Kid did good," Mother's Milk admitted. "Real good. This goes public. Even Vaught's lawyers can't suppress it." Butcher studied the evidence with predatory focus. "This is the smoking gun. Proof they're poisoning children, manufacturing crime, operating a protection racket with superpowers. This ends them." "So we release it?" Huey asked hopefully. "Send it to every news outlet, Congress, the FBI, make it impossible to ignore?" "Not yet," Butcher said. "First, we use it as leverage. Schedule a meeting with Vaught's CEO, show them we've got this evidence, offer to negotiate. When they try to kill us, which they will, we release everything simultaneously. Backup plans. Dead man switches, the works. Either they destroy themselves trying to stop us, or we destroy them with the truth." "That's incredibly dangerous," Peter said. "Homelander won't negotiate. He'll just murder everyone involved." "Probably," Butcher agreed. "Which is why you're not coming to that meeting, Spider-Boy. You're staying here, ready to hit the big red button if we don't check in. Consider it your first lesson in how this war actually works. Calculated risks, acceptable losses, and backup plans for when everything goes to shit." Peter wanted to argue, wanted to insist there was a safer way. But looking at their faces, scarred, determined, already mourning themselves, he realized they'd accepted death as probable outcome long ago. These people weren't heroes, they were kamikazes with evidence instead of explosives. "There has to be another way," Peter said quietly. "There isn't," Mother's Milk replied. "This is the way it ends, them or us. At least this way, maybe we take them down with us." Peter's phone, the burner Butcher gave him, buzzed. Unknown number. He answered cautiously. "Spider-Man," Homelander's voice was silk over steel. "Impressive performance tonight, breaking into restricted areas, stealing confidential documents, assaulting my marketing director. You're making quite the impression." Peter's blood froze. "How did you get this number?" "I know everything about you, Peter Parker." Homelander's voice dropped to intimate menace. "Your Aunt May in Queens, your friend Ned Leeds, that girl Michelle you're obviously in love with. Different universe, same attachments, same weaknesses." The room spun. Peter's spider sense shrieked useless warnings. Homelander had found them, all of them. "Here's what's going to happen," Homelander continued. "You're going to delete that evidence, decline whatever revenge fantasy Butcher's selling, and report to Vault Tower tomorrow morning to sign your contract. Or I visit your aunt's apartment and show her what happens when people refuse my generosity. We clear?" "Crystal," Peter managed, voice steady despite the terror. "See you tomorrow." He hung up, looked at the boys' expectant faces. "He knows everything," Peter said. "My real identity, my family, everyone I care about in this universe. He's threatening to kill them if I don't join Vault." Silence. Then Butcher's laugh, bitter, unsurprised. "And there it is," Butcher said. "The moment your principles meet reality. You've got a choice. Kid, save your family or save everyone else. Let me know which superhero idealism chooses." Peter's hands clenched. Uncle Ben's voice echoed in memory. "With great power comes great responsibility." But what was his responsibility? To strangers suffering under Vault's tyranny. To his aunt, whose only crime was existing in a universe where she could be leveraged against him? How did you choose between different responsibilities when both demanded everything? Peter looked at the evidence on the screens, proof that could free millions from corporate exploitation, topple an empire of false heroism, maybe even bring real accountability to this broken world. All it cost was everyone he loved. "We release the evidence," Peter said quietly. "All of it. Every outlet. Maximum exposure. No warnings. But first, I get my family to safety. Tonight. Before Homelander can make good on his threats. He'll be watching them," Mother's Milk warned. "The moment you approach." "Then I'll be fast," Peter interrupted, "and you'll create a distraction big enough that even Homelander can't ignore. Something that pulls the Seven away from Queens. Can you do that?" Butcher's grin was vicious. "Kid, I've been waiting to blow up Vault Tower for 5 years. Say when." Peter's spider sense pulsed, not warning but recognition. This was the moment, the choice that defined whether he stayed himself or became another casualty of this universe's soul-crushing pragmatism. 1 hour, Peter said. "I need 1 hour to extract my aunt and friends. Then you light the fuse and we burn Vault to the fucking ground." For the first time, Butcher looked impressed. "Maybe you've got some edge after all, Spider-Boy. Let's see if your family's worth starting a war." Peter was already moving toward the door, pulling his costume from his bag. They had 1 hour to save everyone or lose everything. And for the first time since arriving in this nightmare universe, Peter wasn't sure which outcome scared him more. Queens at midnight felt like a different world from Manhattan's corporate towers. Smaller streets, family homes, the kind of neighborhood where people actually knew their neighbors. Peter web-slung through shadows, approaching Aunt May's apartment with his spider sense painting a danger map of the entire block. 2 Volt surveillance vans, one parked 3 houses down, another at the intersection. Heat signatures inside, 4 people per vehicle, probably enhanced with Compound V given Volt's paranoia. Cameras on telephone poles, drones circling overhead, barely visible against the night sky. Homelander wasn't bluffing. They'd turned this neighborhood into a prison. Peter's phone buzzed. Frenchie's encrypted message, "Distraction ready. 8 minutes. Bonne chance, mon ami." 8 minutes to extract 3 people from under Volt's surveillance without triggering a response that would bring the 7 down on civilian heads. Peter's web shooters held maybe 40 shots before he'd need to reload. His spider sense was already exhausted from constant alertness. No room for error. He crawled along rooftops, approaching May's building from above. The apartment's lights were on. She was awake, probably worrying about bills or grading papers or whatever this universe's version of May Parker did. Peter's chest tightened. She didn't know him here. He was a stranger about to crash through her window, claiming to be her nephew from another dimension while mercenaries waited to execute her. This was insane. This whole universe was insane. Peter webbed a surveillance camera, yanked it from its mount, and dropped through May's fire escape window in one fluid motion. May screamed, throwing a frying pan at his head. Peter's spider sense let him dodge, hands raised in surrender. "Aunt May, it's me, Peter Parker. I know this sounds crazy, but I'm your nephew from another dimension, and you're in immediate danger because an evil superhero corporation wants to leverage you against me to force recruitment, and we have about 7 minutes before... Get out!" May grabbed a baseball bat, advancing with the kind of fierce protectiveness Peter recognized instantly. Different universe, same warrior spirit. "I don't know what kind of sick joke this is, but I'm calling the police." "Please don't," Peter begged, pulling off his mask. "Look at my face. I know you don't know me here, but in my world you raised me after my parents died. Uncle Ben was killed by a mugger I could have stopped but didn't. You told me he'd be proud of who I became. You make the best wheat cakes. You cry during old movies. You're the strongest person I know." May's bat lowered slightly, confusion replacing anger. "How do you know?" The apartment door exploded inward. 4 Vought operatives in tactical gear, Compound V enhanced, moving with superhuman speed. Peter's spider sense screamed. He webbed 2 to the ceiling, dodged the 3rd's electric baton strike, and kicked the 4th through the kitchen wall before May could even process what was happening. "We're leaving now." Peter grabbed May, ignored her protests, and web-slung them out the window as the building erupted with gunfire. They swung across Queens in terrifying arcs, May screaming the entire way. Peter's webbing straining under double weight. His spider sense mapped pursuit, vault vans converging, helicopters mobilizing, and worse, a sonic boom in the distance that meant someone with serious speed was incoming. Peter landed on a rooftop 3 blocks away, setting May down gently. She immediately punched him in the shoulder, surprisingly hard. "What the hell is happening?" "Long story. Vought International is evil. The 7 are fake heroes, and I accidentally got you involved in a war between corporate supervillains and terrorist freedom fighters. We need to get you somewhere safe before..." A-Train materialized on the rooftop, vibrating with chemical energy, eyes dilated beyond recognition. "Found you," A-Train slurred, speech rapid fire. "Homelander said bring the woman alive. You? Optional. Personally hoping for optional. Need a win. Need to prove I'm still fastest. Need..." Peter webbed his face mid-sentence, yanked him forward, and delivered an uppercut that sent A-Train tumbling off the roof. Not enough to kill, Peter's rule still held, but enough to buy seconds. "Who was that?" May demanded. "The 7 speedster, corporate hero, evil, very evil. Come on." Peter grabbed her again, web-slinging toward the coordinates Frenchie had provided, a safe house in Brooklyn, far from Vought's immediate reach. His phone buzzed. Butcher's message, distraction, live in 30 seconds. Get clear. Manhattan's skyline lit up orange. The explosion was massive, Frenchie's specialty, targeting a Vought pharmaceutical warehouse where they manufactured Compound V. Not Tower itself, too many civilians, but a facility important enough to demand immediate 7 response. Peter saw Homelander's silhouette streak toward the flames, followed by the rest of the team. Window closed. He had minutes. Peter delivered May to the safe house, a reinforced basement apartment where Mother's Milk waited with weapons and resignation. She'll be safe here, MM promised. Vought doesn't know this location. Yet. May grabbed Peter's arm, eyes searching his masked face. Are you really my nephew? From another world? Yes, Peter said simply. And I'm going to fix this, I promise. He was gone before she could respond, web-slinging back toward Queens for Ned and MJ. Except when he arrived at their addresses, both apartments were already empty. Ransacked, blood on the walls. Vought had moved faster than expected. Peter's spider sense pulled him towards screaming, a warehouse by the docks, isolated. Perfect for interrogations nobody would witness. He crashed through the skylight to find Ned and MJ zip-tied to chairs, Homelander standing between them with hands clasped behind his back, that perfect smile radiating psychotic patience. There you are, Homelander said pleasantly. We've been having a fascinating conversation. Did you know your friend Ned here is quite the hacker? And Michelle has a surprisingly sharp tongue for someone whose life hangs by a thread. Let them go, Peter demanded, landing in a crouch, every muscle coiled for violence. You know the terms. Join Vought, sign the contract, be a good little hero. Homelander's eyes glowed faintly red. Or I paint these walls with your friends' insides while you watch. Time's up, Peter. What's it going to be? Peter's hands shook. The surveillance evidence was uploading across the internet right now. Frenchie's dead man switch activated the moment Peter confirmed May's extraction. In minutes, the world would see Vought's crimes. But these two people, strangers who happened to share his dead friends' names, would die for his choices. With great power comes great responsibility. But responsibility to whom? I'll do it, Peter said, heartbreaking. I'll sign. Just let them go. Homelander's smile widened. See? Not so hard when you... The warehouse exploded with webbing. Peter moved faster than he'd ever moved, muscle memory and spider sense combining into pure instinct. Web both of Homelander's hands to the floor. Web his cape to a support beam. Web MJ and Ned's chairs, yanking them across the warehouse, away from immediate danger. All in 2 seconds. Homelander laughed, ripping through webbing like tissue paper. Cute trick. Won't save them. No, Peter agreed, but it buys time. The warehouse door exploded inward. Butcher's team, heavily armed, weapons Peter recognized as prototype anti-super ordnance. They opened fire, not at Homelander, pointless, but at structural supports. The building began collapsing. Peter grabbed Ned and MJ, crashed through a wall, and web-slung into the night as the warehouse imploded. Behind him, Homelander emerged from rubble completely unharmed, furious, but unable to pursue without revealing his true nature to the cameras that had mysteriously appeared. Butcher's media contacts, documenting everything. They'd played it perfectly, forced Homelander into a public situation where excessive violence would undermine Vought's carefully constructed image. But it was temporary. A brief reprieve, not victory. Peter delivered Ned and MJ to a second safe house, ignored their terrified questions, and finally allowed himself to acknowledge the trembling in his hands. He'd saved them. For now. At the cost of becoming Vogt's permanent enemy, war had officially begun. The evidence drop hit the internet like a nuclear bomb. Peter watched from the boy's main safe house as every major news outlet, social media platform, and independent journalist simultaneously received comprehensive documentation of Vogt's criminal conspiracy. Compound V distribution records, lists of manufactured supervillains, executive emails discussing acceptable civilian losses, financial connections to organized crime, authorization signatures from the CEO herself. Undeniable, comprehensive, devastating. "It's working," Huey said, monitoring media response on multiple screens. CNN's running it. MSNBC, even Fox News can't ignore this. Social media's exploding. Vogt Crimes is trending worldwide. Stock price is tanking, Frenchie added cheerfully. Down 43% in 30 minutes. Shareholder panic. Government investigations announced. International condemnation. C'est magnifique. Peter felt no triumph, only exhaustion and dread, because he knew what came next. Butcher was already preparing, checking weapons, loading specialized ammunition, wearing the expression of a man ready to finish what he'd started. They'll come for us now, full force. No more games, no more recruitment offers. Homelander will personally rip our spines out, and Vought will call it counter-terrorism. "How long do we have?" Mother's Milk asked, similarly armed. "Minutes," Butcher replied. "Maybe less. Homelander's pride just got nuclear bombed in front of the entire world. He'll want blood." As if on cue, the safe house's reinforced walls exploded inward. Homelander stood in the wreckage, costume torn, eyes glowing red. That media-perfect smile replaced with raw hatred. Behind him, Black Noir, A-Train, and The Deep. The full weight of the Seven's violence unleashed without cameras or restraint. "You motherfuckers," Homelander growled, voice stripped of theatrical charm, "just made the biggest mistake of your pathetic lives." Peter's spider sense screamed danger from every direction. This wasn't a fight they could win. This was an execution. "Get down!" Peter webbed Huey, yanking him aside as Homelander's laser vision carved through where he'd been standing. The heat was incredible, stone vaporizing, metal melting, air itself burning. Butcher fired first, high-caliber rounds enhanced with some compound Peter didn't recognize. They actually penetrated Homelander's skin, drawing blood, eliciting a scream of genuine pain and shock. "Temp V bullets," Butcher explained, firing continuously. "Compound V destabilized at molecular level. Turns your own enhancement against you. Expensive as fuck, but worth it to see you bleed, you flying cunt." Homelander's regeneration kicked in immediately, wounds closing, but the damage was done. Psychological, if not physical. He'd been hurt by humans. His invincibility myth shattered. That made him more dangerous. Homelander moved with terrifying speed, grabbing Mother's Milk by the throat, lifting him effortlessly. "I'm going to make an example of..." Peter webbed Homelander's face, blocking his vision and airways. Not enough to kill, Peter's rules still held, but enough to make him drop and claw at the webbing. Peter followed with a full-force kick to Homelander's chest that would have killed a normal human but only staggered the soup. "You're fast," Homelander admitted, ripping the webbing free. "Strong, but you're holding back. I can tell. You've got power, but you're too scared to actually use it." His smile returned, genuine this time, predatory. "Let me teach you what happens when you fight with mercy." He moved faster than Peter's spider sense could track, delivering a punch that cracked ribs and sent Peter through 2 walls. Pain exploded across his chest. Blood filled his mouth. Every breath felt like knives. This was different from fighting Thanos or Ultron. They'd been powerful, but they fought with technique, strategy. Homelander was pure, overwhelming force, backed by psychotic rage. Peter rolled aside as Homelander's laser vision carved the floor where he'd been, webbed a support beam, yanked it down on Homelander's head, which barely slowed him. Spider sense screaming, Peter dodged, weaved, stayed mobile, but every near miss was closer than the last. Meanwhile, the boys fought the Seven's other members with desperate improvisation. Frenchie used chemical weapons against the deep, exploiting aquatic physiology vulnerabilities. Engaged Black Noir in brutal hand-to-hand, matched in skill if not strength. Butcher stalked A-Train with a shotgun, predicting movement patterns from years of observation. Huey just tried not to die, hiding behind overturned furniture, clutching a pistol he clearly didn't know how to use. The safe house was disintegrating around them. Walls collapsed. Fires started. The sounds of combat attracted attention. Sirens in the distance, news helicopters overhead. This was becoming public. Exactly what Vought feared and what the boys needed. "Everyone out!" Butcher roared. "Get to the extraction point, now!" Peter webbed Huey, yanked him toward the exit. Frenchie threw smoke grenades that covered their retreat. Laid suppressing fire. But Homelander wasn't letting them escape. He grabbed Peter mid-swing, slamming him into pavement hard enough to crater concrete. "You don't get to walk away. You don't get to expose us, threaten everything I've built, and just leave." Peter's vision blurred, ribs definitely broken. Maybe internal bleeding. His spider sense was just white noise now. Everything was danger, no useful distinction. "I don't want to fight you," Peter gasped. "I just want people to see the truth." "The truth?" Homelander lifted Peter by the throat, squeezing slowly. "The truth is, I'm a god, and you're an insect. The truth is, nobody will remember you except as a cautionary tale. The truth is..." A massive explosion rocked the street. Starlight stood on a nearby rooftop, hands glowing with concentrated light energy, having just blasted Homelander off Peter. "Enough!" Homelander's expression twisted with betrayal. "Annie?" "I'm done," Starlight said, voice shaking but determined. "Done pretending. Done enabling. These people exposed the truth. I was too scared to speak. If you want to kill them, you go through me." Queen Maeve appeared beside her, similarly defiant, substantially drunk but steady. "Make that 2. I'm fucking done too." The standoff was surreal. 2 Seven members defecting in real time on camera while Manhattan burned around them. Homelander looked between them, Peter, the boys escaping into sewers. His face cycled through emotions, rage, betrayal, calculation. Then something worse, acceptance. "Fine," Homelander said quietly. "You want the truth? Here's truth." His eyes blazed red. He lasered a news helicopter from the sky. It exploded in midair, debris raining down, crew members screaming as they fell. Homelander caught one, not to save, but to display. "This is what happens," Homelander screamed at the cameras, at the world, holding the terrified journalist by one arm. "This is what happens when you fucking question me, when you doubt, when you expose. I am the hero. I am the god. And you will worship me or I will burn every last one of you." He dropped the journalist. Peter's webbing caught her mid-fall, swinging her to safety even as his broken ribs screamed protest. He couldn't let innocent people die. Wouldn't, no matter the cost. Homelander saw the save, laughed. "Of course you saved her, because you're the real hero, right? The one with principles." He gestured at the chaos, burning buildings, terrified civilians, the Seven fractured, Vaught's empire crumbling. "Look what your principles cost. Everyone here suffers because you couldn't just shut up and sign a contract." Peter wanted to argue, wanted to deny it. But wasn't Homelander partially right? If Peter had submitted, played along, none of these people would be in danger. No, Peter said aloud, more to himself than Homelander. "This isn't on me. This is on you, on Vought, on every choice you made to value power over responsibility." Responsibility? Homelander's laugh was broken glass. "I'm going to teach you about responsibility." He flew toward the nearest building, residential, families inside, with clear destructive intent. Peter web-slung after him, spider sense screaming, body failing, but unwilling to let Homelander massacre civilians to make a point. This was the choice. Let Homelander escape to preserve himself, or pursue at cost of his own destruction. Not really a choice at all. With great power comes great responsibility, even when responsibility meant sacrifice. Peter intercepted Homelander 3 stories up, webbing both his arms and yanking with everything he had. They crashed through an office building's glass facade, tumbling through cubicles and conference rooms in a tangle of webs and rage. "You can't stop me!" Homelander roared, laser vision carving through furniture. "You're not strong enough, not fast enough, not willing to do what's necessary." Peter's spider sense guided him through the chaos. Dodge left, roll right, web that support beam and swing clear. But Homelander was right. Peter was holding back, trying not to kill, while Homelander fought with no restraints whatsoever. The gap between them wasn't power, it was conscience, and conscience was losing. Peter webbed Homelander's eyes, temporarily blinding him. Used the seconds to check the building, his enhanced senses painting a picture of terrified workers hiding under desks, parents clutching children, security guards with useless weapons. 53 people. 53 lives depending on Peter keeping Homelander's attention focused on him instead of them. "Everyone evacuate!" Peter shouted. "Fire exits! Move now!" Homelander ripped the webbing free, grabbed Peter by the leg and hurled him through 4 walls. Impact drove air from Peter's lungs. Fresh ribs cracked, blood vessels burst. His healing factor worked overtime, but it wasn't enough. He was dying. Slowly. Being beaten to death by a psychotic godchild who'd never learned consequence. Through the ringing in his ears, Peter heard screaming. Homelander was advancing on the evacuating workers, cutting off their escape, corralling them like prey. "You want to be the hero," Homelander called to Peter. "Then choose. Fight me and they die while you're distracted. Save them and I kill you. Either way, I win." Peter tried to stand. His left leg wouldn't support weight. Something torn, maybe broken. His ribs made breathing agony. Blood obscured vision from a gash across his forehead. But 53 people were counting on him. Peter webbed the ceiling, yanked himself up, and swung directly at Homelander with a 2-footed kick that connected with his jaw. Not enough to hurt him, just enough to redirect his attention. "You want me?" Peter gasped. "Come get me." He web-slung through the building, leading Homelander away from civilians, through abandoned floors, toward the roof. Every movement felt like dying. His web shooters were down to final cartridges. Spider sense fading as exhaustion overwhelmed enhanced senses. This was it, the end. Peter had no plan except keeping Homelander's attention until everyone evacuated. They exploded onto the roof together, surrounded by news helicopters, maintaining distance after Homelander's earlier violence. Police cordons below and the eyes of the world watching 2 figures silhouetted against Manhattan's skyline. "Dramatic," Homelander admitted. "I'll give you that. You've got flair. Shame you wasted it." He moved faster than before, grabbing Peter's throat with one hand, lifting him off the ground. Peter's web shooters fired, empty. No fluid left, no tricks remaining. "Any last words?" Homelander asked, genuinely curious. "Before I show the world what happens to heroes who challenge gods." Peter's vision darkened. Oxygen deprivation, crushed windpipe. He tried to speak, couldn't, so just mouthed the words. "With great power comes great responsibility." Homelander's expression flickered, confusion. then rage. That's your dying wisdom, a fortune cookie platitude. You threw away everything for... Something massive hit Homelander from the side. They tumbled across the roof in a tangle of limbs and capes. Peter collapsed, gasping, as his attacker stood. Queen Maeve, costume torn, knuckles bloody, expression grimly determined. "Run," Maeve told Peter. "Get out of here. He'll kill us both, but at least you tried to be something real." "I'm not leaving," Peter croaked. "You don't have a choice." Maeve grabbed Homelander, wrestling him toward the roof's edge. Someone needs to survive this. Someone needs to show the world that actual heroism existed, even briefly. Now go! Starlight appeared, blasting Homelander with concentrated light. The combination of both attacking forced him back, gave Peter precious seconds. He wanted to stay, help them, die fighting if necessary, but his body betrayed him, legs giving out, consciousness fading, blood loss too severe. Peter fell through a maintenance access, tumbled down emergency stairs, and somehow found himself in an alley behind the building. Above, the sounds of combat continued. Homelander's roars, Maeve's defiant screams, Starlight's desperate attacks. Peter crawled toward the street, every movement torture. A van screeched to a stop. Frenchie and MM pulled him inside. "We've got to go back," Peter insisted weakly. "Maeve and Starlight are dead if we don't move," MM said harshly. "They bought you time. Don't waste it." The van peeled away as the building's rooftop exploded with laser fire. Peter watched through the back window, tears mixing with blood, as Homelander emerged alone, silhouetted against flames. Maeve and Starlight didn't follow. The boys' emergency safe house was a bunker beneath the condemned factory. Concrete walls, one exit, enough supplies for a week. Peter lay on a cot while Frenchie treated injuries with whatever medical supplies existed. Trois côtes cassées, internal bleeding controlled but not stopped, concussion, multiple lacerations, Frenchie diagnosed. "You need a hospital." "Hospitals mean Vought finds me," Peter replied. "I'll heal, eventually." "You fought Homelander one-on-one and survived," Huey said, awe and horror mixing. "Nobody does that." "I didn't survive. Maeve and Starlight did that." Peter's voice cracked. "Are they—" "No confirmation yet," MM said gently. "But Homelander was alone when he left. That's not a good sign." The room fell silent. Outside, sirens wailed. News choppers circled. The world processed what it had witnessed. The Seven fragmenting, Vought's crimes exposed, Homelander's public psychotic break, and Spider-Man, mysterious hero from nowhere, nearly dying to protect civilians. Butcher entered, carrying a tablet showing news coverage. "You're famous, kid. Spider-Man vs. Homelander is the most watched live event in history. Social media's calling you the first real hero. Meanwhile, Vought's stock is in free fall, governments launching investigations, and half the Seven just quit or died. We fucking won." "Did we?" Peter asked bitterly. "Homelander's still alive. Vought's still operational, and 2 heroes are dead because I couldn't—" "Stop," MM interrupted firmly. "Maeve and Starlight made their choice. They saw what you represented, actual heroism without corporate backing, and decided it was worth fighting for. Don't dishonor that by claiming responsibility for Homelander's actions." Peter wanted to believe him, but Uncle Ben's voice echoed, "With great power comes great responsibility." Didn't that mean every consequence was his to bear? "What's next?" Peter asked, changing subject, before grief overwhelmed him. "We've got leaked intel that Vought's board is meeting tomorrow," Butcher said. "Emergency session to discuss damage control, possibly throwing Homelander under the bus to save the company. If we can get evidence of that discussion, them admitting they knew what he was and weaponized him anyway, It's game over for Vought, permanently. So we infiltrate again? Huey asked nervously. Worse, Butcher replied. We walk in the front door, the boys, Spider-Man, and every media outlet on the planet watching. Force them to either negotiate or commit corporate suicide by attacking us publicly. Peter's spider sense pulsed weakly, still recovering but warning him nonetheless. That's insane. Homelander will kill all of us. Maybe, Butcher agreed. But we've got the world's attention now. Every move Vought makes is scrutinized. They can't just disappear us without confirmation they're everything we claimed. So either they let us expose them further, or they go full mask-off fascist and prove our point. It's a trap either way, MM added, but it's the only play we've got. Force them into a lose-lose situation. Peter thought of Maeve and Starlight, heroes who'd finally found courage to fight at the cost of everything. Thought of his Aunt May, hiding in a safe house instead of her home. Thought of this entire broken universe where heroism had been commodified and corrupted so thoroughly that actual sacrifice felt revolutionary. His body screamed to rest, to heal, to hide until strong enough to fight properly. But responsibility didn't wait for convenient moments. I'm in, Peter said, but we do this smart. Backup plans, exit strategies, and protection for everyone we care about. I'm not losing anyone else. Butcher's respect was grudging but genuine. You're learning, Spider-Boy. Maybe you'll survive this world after all. Or die trying, Peter replied. Either way, it's worth it. Because that's what heroes did. Even in universes designed to punish heroism, they tried anyway. Vought Tower's lobby had never felt more like a mausoleum. Peter walked through the entrance beside Butcher, MM, Frenchie, and Huey, all wearing bulletproof vests beneath civilian clothes, armed with hidden weapons and Frenchie's surveillance tech, accompanied by 30 journalists whose cameras broadcast everything live. Security didn't stop them. Couldn't. The world was watching. Ashley Barrett met them at the elevator, looking like she'd aged 10 years overnight. Her hair was disheveled, makeup smeared, hands shaking with exhaustion or prescription drugs or both. You're insane for coming here, she whispered. Homelander's upstairs. He's been awake for 36 hours, won't talk to anyone, and keeps muttering about teaching lessons. You're walking into a death trap. Then document it, Butcher replied cheerfully. Make sure cameras catch everything. The elevator ride felt eternal. Peter's spider sense hummed with ambient danger, not acute threats, but pervasive wrongness. His ribs had healed enough to function, courtesy of enhanced metabolism working overtime. But he was maybe 60% capacity. Another fight with Homelander would kill him. The boardroom occupied the tower's highest floor, massive windows overlooking Manhattan, conference table that could seat 20, and the physical manifestation of corporate evil. Vaught's board of directors, 12 executives in expensive suits, backed by 30 lawyers, flanked by Black Noir and the Deep, A-Train apparently deemed too unstable for public appearance. And at the head of the table, because of course, Homelander. He looked worse than Peter expected. Costume rumpled, hair disheveled, eyes carrying manic energy that vibrated between rage and something approaching breakdown. 3 days without sleep while his world collapsed had pushed him toward the edge. The boys, Homelander said flatly, and Spider-Man, bold, stupid, but bold. Madeline Stillwell, Vaught's CEO, elegant and cold, addressed them with politician's poise. Gentlemen, you've made your point. You've exposed regrettable operational decisions that management takes full responsibility for. We're prepared to negotiate settlements, financial compensation, legal amnesty, even positions within a restructured Vought that prioritizes authentic heroism over quarterly earnings. Fascinating offer, Butcher replied. Here's ours. You admit everything publicly. Compound V experiments on children without consent. Manufacturing supervillains to justify the Seven's existence. Homelander's murder count. Every victim, every cover-up, every crime. Full disclosure, or we release documents proving the board knew everything and authorized it. The lawyers erupted in protest. Stillwell's expression never changed. That would destroy the company, she said simply. Yes, Butcher agreed. That's the point. Homelander stood slowly. You think you've won. That exposing us means justice, but you've miscalculated. He gestured at the windows, at Manhattan stretching below, millions of people going about their lives. This city needs heroes. This country needs heroes. Not perfect ones, those don't exist, but symbols, icons, gods to aspire toward. You destroy the Seven, you leave a void that chaos fills. Better chaos than false security, Peter said quietly. Better truth than comfortable lies. Homelander's attention snapped to him. You're still alive. Impressive. Most people I hit that hard stay down, but you keep getting up, keep swinging, keep pretending your moral superiority matters. He walked toward Peter slowly, every step measured. What's your endgame, Spider-Man? Expose Vought, the Seven disbands, then what? You think some new organization takes our place? You think humans will suddenly be capable of saving themselves? I think heroism isn't about gods ruling from above, Peter replied, holding his ground despite Spider-Sense screaming flee. It's about people helping people. No corporations, no branding, no calculated saves for maximum media coverage, just doing what's right because it's right. Adorable, Homelander said. Let me show you why that's fantasy. He moved to the window, tapped the glass, and gestured at the city. 8 million people down there, thousands in crisis right now. Muggings, fires, accidents, medical emergencies. How many can you save before exhaustion or injury stops you? A dozen? Maybe 20 if you push? I could save hundreds. The Seven could save thousands. But we prioritize media-visible saves that inspire millions, prevent future crimes, maintain order. Utilitarianism. Your Neighborhood Hero Act is mathematical failure. It's not about numbers, Peter insisted. It's about every life mattering equally. Rich or poor, visible or invisible, worth saving because they're human, not because cameras are watching. Then you're a fool destined to die exhausted and forgotten while the world moves on. The room held collective breath. Two philosophies of heroism colliding, corporate efficiency versus individual dignity. Stillwell broke the silence. Gentlemen, this is productive as debate club, but we have actual decisions to make. Here's Vaught's final offer. We restructure. Independent oversight, psychological screening for heroes, transparent use of Compound V, generous compensation for victims. You get reform. We maintain operations. Everyone wins. Except the thousands already dead from your regrettable decisions, MM said harshly. The past is unchangeable, Stillwell replied. We're discussing the future. Accept our offer or we litigate everything for decades while nothing changes. Your choice. Peter watched her, calculating, efficient, emotionless. She wasn't evil like Homelander's psychotic rage. She was something worse. Banal evil. Corporate evil. The kind that destroyed thousands with paperwork and called it market forces. We're not negotiating, Butcher said. We're sentencing. The evidence goes public. Vought collapses, and every executive here faces criminal charges. That's the future. Black Noir moved. Peter's spider sense exploded as the silent assassin attacked Butcher with deadly precision. Peter intercepted. Barely. webbing Black Noir's blade mid-thrust, but the momentum still carried them into the conference table. Chaos erupted. The Deep charged overconfident and stupid. Frenchie produced hidden weapons. Huey dove for cover. Security burst through doors. Journalists' cameras captured everything. And Homelander just watched, smiling, as his corporate master's carefully maintained facade shattered into violence. "This is what you wanted," Homelander said to Peter, even as combat swirled around them. "Forcing our hand, making us show our true nature. Congratulations, you proved we're monsters. But now what? Now you fight monsters while the world watches and realizes maybe monsters were keeping worse things at bay." Peter webbed Black Noir to the floor, dodged security's bullets, rubber rounds, even Vought feared public murder, and faced Homelander directly. "I'm not giving up," Peter said. "Not on this world, not on the possibility that people can be better. Even if it kills me. It will," Homelander promised. "Maybe not today, maybe not this fight, but eventually your principles will collide with reality hard enough to break you, and I'll be there to watch you finally understand." He moved with terrifying speed, grabbing Peter, and hurled him through the window. Glass shattered. Gravity claimed him. Peter fell 90 stories with broken web shooters and exhausted spider sense, Manhattan rushing up to meet him. This was it. The end. He'd pushed too hard, fought too long, believed too stubbornly in heroism's possibility. Webline caught him 15 feet from impact. Peter swung wildly, barely controlled, landing in an alley where Frenchie's escape van waited. The team piled in, bleeding from shoulder wound, Huey shell-shocked, Butcher laughing maniacally, and they peeled away as Vought Tower erupted with security. "Did we get it?" Peter gasped. "The admission?" Frenchie held up a recording device, grinning. Every word, Homelander's philosophy, Stillwell's complicity, their willingness to use violence, all broadcast live. "Then we won," Huey said, disbelieving. "We survived," corrected. "Winning comes later." Peter looked back at Vought Tower, at Homelander's silhouette in the shattered window, and wondered if survival counted as victory in a war with no end. But he was still alive, still fighting, still believing. That had to mean something. The fallout from Vought Tower transformed everything. Within 24 hours, emergency congressional hearings were scheduled. International governments demanded accountability. Stock trading was suspended. Vaught's board members resigned or fled. The Department of Justice announced federal investigations into compound fee distribution, racketeering, and dozens of murders. And Homelander disappeared. Not dead, Peter's spider sense would have felt relief instead of persistent dread. Just absent. No sightings, no statements, no public appearances. Like a predator retreating to nurse wounds and plan vengeance. "He's waiting," Butcher said, studying maps of Vought properties scattered across their safe house. "Building strength, consolidating loyalists, preparing something big. Homelander doesn't do subtle revenge. He does biblical retribution." Peter understood. His spider sense painted an invisible countdown, hours or days until Homelander's rage manifested in catastrophic violence. The question wasn't if, but when and how many would die when it happened. "We need to find him first," Peter insisted. "Contain him before he massacres civilians to make a point." "Can't contain a god," replied grimly. "Best we can do is minimize casualties when he snaps." The world had turned on Vought completely. Protests surrounded every facility. Heroes were fleeing the Seven publicly. Minor members Peter didn't recognize, terrified of association with collapsing empire. Even A-Train had disappeared, presumably consumed by whatever chemicals kept him functional. Starlight and Queen Maeve remained missing, presumed dead, though no bodies recovered. Peter checked morgues obsessively, hoping for different answer, finding none. Their sacrifice haunted him, heroes who'd finally chosen right side at terminal cost, while he survived, again, always surviving while others paid his moral prices. "Stop spiraling," Huey said, recognizing Peter's expression. "They made their choice. Honor it by finishing what you started." What they'd started was systematic demolition of America's superhero infrastructure. Congressional testimony revealed Compound 5 experiments dated back decades. Hundreds of children injected without consent. Survival rate barely 50%. The lucky ones gained powers. The unlucky ones died screaming or lived as damaged test subjects in classified facilities. Peter testified via video link, identity still masked, voice modulated, but testimony devastating. He described the staged rescue, the corporate philosophy, Homelander's threats, the manufactured villains. Every word backed by documentation Frenchie had secured. Senators who'd taken vote campaign contributions scrambled to distance themselves. News networks that had glorified the Seven now aired exposés. Public opinion shifted from worship to revulsion with whiplash speed. But public opinion didn't stop Homelander. The attack came on day 5. Peter was helping relocate Aunt May to permanent safe housing when his spider sense detonated. Not localized danger, existential threat, citywide, apocalyptic. Homelander appeared on every screen simultaneously. Hijacked broadcast, emergency alert system, social media platforms. His face filled displays everywhere, expression beyond sanity, eyes glowing steady red. "You wanted truth?" Homelander's voice was eerily calm. "Here's truth. I've spent my entire existence pretending to be what you needed. The hero, the savior, the symbol, suppressing my true nature because Vought said it helped quarterly earnings. But you've destroyed Vought, removed my leash. So now I'm free." He stood atop the Brooklyn Bridge, surrounded by hundreds of rush-hour commuters trapped in traffic. "Spider-Man, Butcher, everyone who exposed us, you've got 1 hour to surrender yourselves to me. Every minute you delay, I drop 10 cars into the river. Refuse entirely." His smile was broken glass. "I start with neighborhoods, then cities. I'll burn this country down before I let you take my godhood." The broadcast ended. Silence. Then chaos, panic, evacuation attempts, military mobilization that everyone knew was pointless. What could conventional forces do against someone who shrugged off tank rounds? "It's a trap," MM said unnecessarily. "He'll kill us, and the hostages both." "Probably," Peter agreed, already pulling on his costume. "But I have to try." "We all do," Huey said, loading weapons with shaking hands. "This is what we signed up for." Butcher's expression was something between pride and grief. "If we're doing this, we do it my way. Frenchie's been synthesizing something special, weaponized Temp-Phi designed specifically for Homelander's physiology. One shot might destabilize his powers long enough to kill him." "I'm not killing him," Peter said firmly. "Then you're condemning everyone on that bridge," Butcher replied. "Maybe thousands more when he goes full genocide. This is the choice, mate. Your principles or their lives. Finally, time to pick." Peter's hands clenched. Uncle Ben's philosophy assumed justice was achievable without compromise. But this universe proved otherwise again and again. Maybe Butcher was right. Maybe killing one monster to save thousands was moral mathematics. Or maybe surrendering that principle meant becoming the monster. "There's always another way," Peter said, not sure he believed it anymore. "Then you've got 58 minutes to find it," Butcher replied. The Brooklyn Bridge was a nightmare. Homelander stood on the suspension cable's peak, silhouetted against afternoon sun, radiating casual menace. Below, gridlocked traffic stretched across the span. Families, workers, tourists, all trapped. NYPD had cordoned both ends, but nobody was brave or stupid enough to engage. Peter landed on the cable 50 feet from Homelander. Spider sense screaming danger so loud it was white noise. "Just you," Homelander sounded almost disappointed. "No Butcher, no army, just one spider boy thinking he can talk me down with inspirational speeches." "I'm here to negotiate," Peter said. "Let these people go. You want me? Fine. Take me. Just release the hostages." "Negotiate?" Homelander laughed. "You destroyed everything I built, my team, my company, my reputation. The entire world thinks I'm a monster because of you. And you think negotiation is still possible?" "You are a monster," Peter replied. "But you don't have to keep being one. You were made this way. Vaught's experiments, their conditioning, their exploitation. But you can choose differently. Right now. Let these people go and face accountability like a human instead of a god." Homelander's expression cycled through emotions, rage, grief, something almost vulnerable. "Do you know what it's like?" he asked quietly. "Being the most powerful thing alive and still feeling empty? Having every ability except the one that matters, making people genuinely love you instead of fear you. I've spent 30 years performing for affection that never comes naturally." Peter felt unexpected sympathy. Homelander was victim and victimizer both, a weapon programmed to crave validation from those he'd been designed to dominate. "Then stop performing," Peter said. "Be real. Face consequences. Maybe find actual redemption instead of forcing worship." For a moment, one crystalline moment, something human flickered in Homelander's eyes. Recognition, understanding, the possibility of different path. Then it died. "Redemption is fantasy," Homelander said. "This world has shown me what I really am, a god, and gods don't apologize." He moved. Peter's spider sense barely saved him as laser vision carved the cable where he'd been standing. Metal groaned, snapped, and the bridge began collapsing. Cars slid toward the river. Cables whipped like serpents. Hundreds of people screamed as gravity claimed them. Peter webbed frantically, catching falling vehicles, creating support nets, swinging people to safety. His web shooters depleted rapidly. Couldn't save everyone, had to prioritize. Spider sense identifying which cars held children, which people had seconds versus minutes. Impossible choices made in microseconds. Meanwhile, Homelander just watched, hovering above, studying Peter's desperate mathematics. "This is heroism," Homelander called. "Choosing who lives and dies based on proximity and probability. You're no different than me. Just less honest about it." Peter webbed a minivan seconds before it hit water, yanked it onto remaining structure, moved to the next crisis. His body screamed exhaustion. Web shooters down to final cartridges. Bridge disintegrating faster than he could compensate. He couldn't save them all. The realization hit like physical blow. Even with every ounce of power, speed, and determination, the math didn't work. Dozens would die regardless. With great power comes great responsibility. But what was responsibility when physics made salvation impossible? A missile streaked past Peter's head. Military helicopters swarmed the bridge. Someone had finally authorized lethal force. Rockets, machine guns, everything conventional arsenals offered, concentrated on Homelander, who shrugged it off like rain. He lasered 2 helicopters from the sky. They exploded, raining debris onto already damaged bridge. More cars fell, more screaming. Peter's spider sense painted probability maps of catastrophic failure. Bridge collapse in 30 seconds. 200 people still trapped. Evacuation impossible. He had to choose continue impossible rescue or stop Homelander before more died. Both options meant casualties. Neither was right. But inaction guaranteed everyone died. Peter made his choice. He web-slung directly at Homelander with everything left: speed, momentum, desperate fury. Connected with a kick that actually staggered the Soupy, followed with web wrapping his eyes, temporarily blinding him. Grabbed Homelander's cape and used it to redirect his flight path away from the bridge. They crashed into the East River together. Water surrounded them, murky and cold. Homelander ripped Peter's webs free, grabbed his throat, squeezed. Peter's vision darkened. No air, no escape. This was dying. Something massive hit Homelander from the side. Through blurred vision, Peter saw Queen Maeve, alive, battered, impossibly alive, wrestling Homelander deeper. She caught Peter's eye, mouthed one word: "Go." Peter surfaced, gasped air, looked back at the bridge. The structure was holding, barely. Emergency services swarming, people being evacuated. Not everyone saved. He'd seen at least a dozen cars go under, but hundreds lived because he'd made the choice to engage Homelander. Dozens died because he'd chosen wrong. Water erupted behind him. Homelander emerged, Maeve's body limp in his grip. He dropped her, unconscious or dead, Peter couldn't tell, and advanced on Peter with murderous intent. Out of tricks? Homelander asked. Out of webs? Out of speeches? Peter floated in the river, exhausted beyond function, watching the most powerful being on Earth close in for the kill, and realized Butcher was right. Sometimes monsters needed killing, but not by Peter. Never by Peter, because surrendering that principle meant becoming Homelander in different costume. "I won't kill you," Peter said clearly. "Ever. Because that's what makes me different." Homelander laughed. "Then you die moral and forgotten." He moved in for a final blow and collapsed mid-air, just dropped from the sky like puppet with cut strings, splashing into water, convulsing. Peter saw the dart in his neck, Frenchie's weaponized temp fee, shot from Butcher's position on the shore. Homelander thrashed, screaming as his powers destabilized. Not gone, never fully gone, but compromised. Human vulnerable for the first time in his existence. Butcher waded into the water, carrying restraints that looked military grade. "This is it, mate. One chance to end him permanently. Nobody would blame you. He's killed hundreds. Will kill thousands more if he escapes. Just hold him under. 30 seconds and the world's safest place." Peter looked at Homelander, convulsing, weakened, terrified. Looked at Maeve's floating body. Looked at the bridge with its rescued survivors and unseen casualties. With great power comes great responsibility. Responsibility to whom? The living Homelander threatened? The dead he'd already created? The principle that separated heroes from executioners? "No," Peter said. "We take him alive, face trial, prove justice works even for gods." "You're making a mistake," Butcher warned. "Maybe," Peter agreed, "but it's my mistake to make." They restrained Homelander with power-suppressing shackles while his destabilized abilities flickered. Military forces secured him. Media captured everything. The most powerful superhero in history, defeated and bound, dragged from the water like any common criminal. It felt like victory. It felt like tragedy. Peter suspected it was both. 3 weeks later, Peter stood on a Manhattan rooftop watching the city heal. Homelander remained in military custody, special facility designed to hold compound V-enhanced individuals, powered by technology reverse-engineered from Vort's own research. Trials were scheduled. Debates raged about jurisdiction, precedent, whether superhumans could be held accountable under laws written for regular people. Peter suspected they'd argue for years while Homelander waited, plotting, testing his restraints. Vought International was bankrupt, assets liquidated, executives facing criminal charges, facilities seized. The Seven disbanded officially, survivors either hiding or helping investigations. Black Noir remained at large. A-Train was found dead from cardiac arrest, another casualty of Compound V's unstable enhancements. The Deep was in custody, singing like a canary for reduced sentences. Queen Maeve survived, barely. She was recovering in an undisclosed location, having sustained injuries that would have killed normal humans. She'd sent Peter one message: "You showed us what real heroes look like. Don't let this world change that." Starlight's body was never recovered. Vought claimed she'd fled. Butcher's sources suggested otherwise. Peter lit a candle for her. Wherever she was, whatever had happened, she died fighting for something true. The boys had scattered. Butcher disappeared into whatever shadows spawned people like him. Returned to his family, hoping for normal life. Frenchie and Huey stayed in contact, helping coordinate independent hero oversight networks that emerged from Vaught's ashes. Aunt May was safe, finally, truly safe. Peter visited her regularly. This universe's May, who'd come to accept her nephew from another dimension, was real and trying to protect her from superhuman corporate conspiracies. She fed him wheat cakes and worried about his injuries and told him Uncle Ben would be proud. Peter wasn't sure that was true. He'd compromised principles repeatedly, worked with killers, enabled violence, let people die because perfect salvation was mathematically impossible. The idealistic hero who'd arrived in this universe had been worn down by its cynicism, but he hadn't broken, hadn't killed, hadn't surrendered the belief that heroism meant something beyond power and fear. "Thought I'd find you here," Huey's voice came from the rooftop access door. "You brewed a lot for someone who saved New York." "Didn't save everyone," Peter replied. "Nobody could have," Huey said, joining him at the edge. 43 people died when the bridge collapsed. That's 43 tragedies. But 421 lived because you were there. That's math, Peter. Simple, brutal math. "Uncle Ben never mentioned math," Peter said quietly. "Just responsibility. Maybe responsibility means accepting you can't save everyone," Huey suggested. "Just doing your best and living with the weight. That's what heroes do, right? Carry weight others can't." Peter considered that. Maybe heroism wasn't perfection. Maybe it was trying despite inevitable failure. Carrying guilt for unavoidable casualties while still believing the next time could be different. Maybe that's what made someone a hero. Not power, but willingness to try anyway. "I still don't know how to get home," Peter admitted. "Dimension travel isn't exactly Googleable, and this universe's tech is different from mine. I might be stuck here." "Would that be so bad?" Huey asked. "This world needs heroes, real ones. After everything with Vought, people are terrified of superhumans, but also realizing they need protecting. Independent heroes could fill that gap. No corporate backing, no branding, just people helping people." Peter looked at Manhattan, scarred but surviving, adapting, rebuilding. A universe that had weaponized heroism, learning to value authentic service. "I'd need allies," Peter said slowly. "People I could trust, who understand heroism isn't about profit or fame." "I know a few," Huey replied. "Starlight had friends, other supes who hated Vought but were too scared to resist. With Homelander locked up and Vought gone, they might be willing to try again, build something better." The idea crystallized. A new team. No corporate oversight, no manufactured threats, no calculated saves. Just heroes protecting people because it was right. The Seven had been false gods, but maybe something real could rise from their ashes. "What would we call ourselves?" Peter asked. Huey grinned. "We'll workshop it." Peter's phone buzzed. Emergency alert. Apartment fire in Brooklyn. People trapped. Conventional rescue struggling. He pulled on his mask, checked web shooters, refilled thanks to Frenchie's chemistry, and looked at Huey. You coming? I'm not a soup, Huey protested. Neither is Batman, Peter replied. Heroism isn't about powers, it's about showing up. They ran toward the fire together, one superpowered hero from another dimension, one civilian who'd lost everything to Vaught's corruption, both choosing to try anyway. Behind them, the sun set on a world, learning that heroes weren't products or gods, just people willing to carry responsibility others couldn't. With great power came great responsibility. But with regular power, with human power, with moral power, with the simple courage to act, came responsibility too. And maybe that was enough. Peter web slung toward the flames, spider sense mapping escape routes and danger zones, already calculating how to save everyone. Knowing he might fail, trying anyway. Because that's what heroes did, even in universes designed to break them. 6 months later, they had a name. The Sentinels. Not flashy, not corporate, just a promise. Guardians without agendas, heroes without handlers. Peter led them, though he resisted the title. Huey coordinated logistics. A dozen former soups joined, people who'd hidden their powers or fled Vaught's corruption, now given purpose beyond profit. They operated from safe houses, funded by anonymous donations and seized Vought assets. No merchandising, no media tours, just response to emergencies that didn't generate ratings. Homelander's trial became legal theater, arguments about superhuman jurisdiction, constitutional implications, international law. It would last years. Peter visited once, sitting in the gallery, watching the man who'd nearly killed him reduced to courtroom defendant. Homelander saw him, smiled, mouthed, "You'll become me eventually." Peter left without responding. Didn't need to. His answer was the Sentinels, proof that heroism could survive this universe's cynicism without surrendering its soul. Some nights, Peter stood on rooftops and wondered if he'd ever get home, if his universe's May was okay, if his friends missed him, if there was a way back. Other nights, he realized this universe needed him more. Maybe that was responsibility too, staying where you were needed, even when somewhere else felt like home. Peter Parker had arrived in a world that corrupted heroism into commodity, had witnessed corporate evil wearing capes, had nearly died fighting false gods and surviving broken principles. But he'd also proven something. Genuine heroism was possible, difficult, costly, imperfect, but possible. The city spread below him, 8 million stories unfolding. Somewhere people needed help. The Sentinels would answer, not for profit or glory, just because it was right. Peter pulled on his mask and web-slung into the night. Behind him, New York glittered, scarred, cynical, but learning to believe in heroes again. Not perfect heroes, real ones, flawed, struggling, but trying anyway. With great power came great responsibility. Peter Parker carried both, and somehow, impossibly, that was enough. May the Force be with you. More stories await.